I'm Dr. Nina Passanti. I've addressed the board on a couple of occasions, and I'm here tonight as a Vestal resident and as a physician who's practiced in Vestal since 1993, as I've mentioned to the board before. My purpose tonight is I am honored to be here. I want to present to the board 3 members of our Broome County Medical Society. Dr. Eric Easter practices family medicine. Family physicians are responsible for taking care of patients of all ages. They are our front-line primary care physicians. Dr. Easter and his wife, also a physician, Dr. Karen Easter, have been in Broome County for over 10 years. They chose our community in part because they wanted to live and raise their children in a safe and healthful environment. This is Dr. Easter's second term as president of the Broome County Medical Society. Dr. Easter will be speaking to us momentarily. Dr. Nero Ane is a graduate of SUNY Upstate Medical Center. She became acquainted with our community in the 2 years that she practiced here in her 3rd and 4th year of medical school at our Binghamton Clinical Campus. That was in the late 1990s. She's a board-certified general surgeon with training in surgical oncology and cancer. She is one of 4 surgeons in the whole state of New York to be certified in stereotactic biopsy procedures. She serves on 2 different national committees with the American Breast Society. She is one of 15 surgeons in the whole state of New York, including New York City, to be certified in ultrasound biopsy procedures. These certifications are from the prestigious American Society of Breast Surgeons. They're a measure of quality of care, competence, and expertise. She also has recent publications in international journals. I won't detail them, but if you're interested, we can get you a copy. I am describing her qualifications in detail to illustrate to you the caliber of physician addressing the board tonight. She demonstrates initiative, intelligence, a passion for excellence, and a drive to share information with her profession and to learn. And I see it as a physician that she is someone who has a passion for taking care of her patients, who will go above and beyond, and that is what I want taking care of me and our community. So without further ado, I believe Dr. Easter and Dr. Ane will be speaking to you, and I believe another couple physicians will also be addressing the board afterwards. Thank you for your attention.
As a family physician, husband, and father of 3 boys, certainly the health and well-being of our community is of utmost importance. As you know, the benefits and potential risks of high-volume hydraulic fracturing is a source of ongoing debates. In 2010, Broome County Medical Society joined multiple upstate medical societies, including Chemung, Onondaga, Utica, Tompkins, and Otsego, recommending a moratorium on natural gas extraction using high-volume hydraulic fracturing. I'd like to spend a moment just to read that resolution. Whereas, as physicians, we believe in the principle of primum non nocere, which is first do no harm, and whereas, as physicians of Broome County, we care first and foremost about the health of our community and believe that when an activity raises potential harm to human health, precautionary measures should be taken until cause and effect relationships are fully established scientifically. And whereas the exploitation of natural gas in the Marcellus shale gas field involves high-pressure injection of over 200 billion gallons of water and billions of gallons of water-soluble chemicals into the shale formations to allow the release of natural gas. And whereas backflow from this process contains heavy metals, radioactive materials, and volatile organic compounds, and the effects of this process on human health have not been subject to rigorous medical research. And whereas a review report by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation in the draft supplemental generic environmental impact statement contained no high-quality medical data, now, therefore, it be resolved that the Broome County Medical Society of the State of New York supports a moratorium to natural gas extraction using high-volume hydraulic fracturing in the New York State until completion of the recently announced Environmental Protection Agency study, which is not complete as of yet, to evaluate its effects on human health and environment. I make decisions every day for my patients based on the best information available, and in this case, we need the best information available. Thank you very much.
just want to make sure that everyone understands it's not a political stance. It's not to be against gas drilling. We're not speaking for gas drilling. We're just saying we need data. I think that's quite a blunt, honest fact is we don't have data. We don't have data to say that the chemicals are safe. We don't have data to say the chemicals are not safe. As Dr. Heister had just pointed out, I'm a cancer surgeon. I sit down with my patients every day, and I tell them what options they have. And I tell them where the evidence is, usually from the National Cancer Institute, what therapies have worked, what haven't worked, and why they didn't work, and where we collected the data. So it's natural for me to ask for data. I'm asking for data to show that the chemicals are safe, or I'm asking for data to show that the chemicals are not safe. It's really the unknown. We just don't know what they do. So due to the lack of data, it's very hard to say that it is safe. In the same way, it is hard to say it's not safe. And in the same way we practice medicine, which we call standard of care, it's evidence-based medicine. I just don't understand how this could be any different. I have lots of friends who are for drilling. In the same way, I have friends who are not for drilling. And when I say I can't make a decision, yes, it makes people upset. But that's the truth, though, because we have great people on both sides. I think we all need to just pull together. And we do need to collect the data. Data collection shouldn't take years to centuries. It should be weeks to months. Once we have objective, concrete data from the Department of Health, we can make a concrete stance and say, we have data to prove one way or the other. But I agree with Dr. Heister. It's hard as a physician to make an assumption when it involves the lives of so many, not just patients, but the entire community is at risk, whether it's pollution or not. And do we know it's really pollution? The answer is no. We don't know. It's just the unknown. So thank you for letting me speak, and I hope all of us, I live here, I own property here, I hope we can all pull together, and I mean both sides, people who are for drilling, people who are against drilling. I think if we collectively pull our energies together, we should be able to have New York State help us, have a third party collect the data in a more expedited manner so that we can have a conclusion that is evidence-based, that is objective, and that can help instead of just, personal feelings and, acting on the unknown and risking our lives and that of our future. Thank you.
My name is Martin Cass, and I'm a physician, and I've been in practice in our area for about 22 years now. And I don't have too much to say in addition to what Dr. Heister and Dr. Arnes were talking about. It seems that the first thing, as Dr. Heister pointed out, is do no harm. And it seems to me that it's pretty clear that we do not, at this point, have sufficient knowledge of the various forms of harm that could occur in the process of gas drilling. And further, we might consider the example of the ever-present Mr. Murphy of Murphy's Law fame. In case people aren't familiar with that, something can go wrong. It will go wrong. And in light of that, it seems also to me that it's eminently prudent to study this matter first, as in do no harm. And this might, I think, perhaps be best accomplished by a New York State Department of Health impact study in the context, perhaps, of a moratorium on the gas drilling while these important studies proceed. And it's necessary, obviously, to have this study, just like when physicians are treating patients and helping patients make decisions on a risk-benefit basis, and need to take a good care that the decision is made in the best manner. Just like that, we need to do that here. Thank you.
My name is Ken Stark. I'm a physician. I practice here for 30 years. I grew up in North Dakota. My wife grew up in Northern Virginia. We moved to this area when we joined the practice, which was then started by Dr. Pete Zayak. And we've grown to love this area. And one of the things I treasure about it is the water. If you look at the world as a whole, fresh water is really rare. Most of the water in the world is in oceans. And if climate change comes about, there's going to be less and less fresh water in the world as a whole. We have really a lot of fresh water up here. We have 2 rivers, we have 3 Finger Lakes, but what if it weren't, and what if we polluted our water? I think we'd all feel a huge loss. And that's pretty much what I would have to say.
I'm okay standing in the middle of the room and taking the darts. It's okay. But I want to talk for my fellow physicians and say, yes, medical errors are human errors. We're all human. That happens. We're not machines. We're not computers. So out of fatigue, out of being overworked, maybe you took care of too many multitasking things that you weren't supposed to. You can blame it on the system, but this is the reason why we have electronic medical records, to prevent these medical errors that this gentleman has just pointed out correctly. Chemicals, I'm validating that side effects happen between medications. Now we have people being concerned about side effects between medications, known side effects. We're talking about things where we don't know what the side effects of this chemicals are. How can you be okay with that, with the unknown? Yes, there was an error. Somebody put her on a cholesterol pill and they gave her something else, and yes, the computer should have picked up, the doctor should have picked up, the pharmacist should have picked up, but to undermine the rigorous medical training just because it was one mistake by one physician, I think we're just going off the tangent. I'm okay, we're all okay actually to take the darts, but I think we're going off on the tangent, number one. Number two, we're not addressing the current issue, which is the unknown. What are the effects of the chemicals? I'm asking an outside the box question.
I agree with Dr. Arnay that we as physicians need to take ownership of mistakes that happen, and we constantly work to better ourselves. There is an element of buyer beware. When you go to a physician, we are not gods. We encourage our patients to go online, to read, to learn about their illness, to empower themselves. And I think what we're saying here is, as physicians, we are asking our community to actually step forward and, as Dr. Glauber had said, perhaps have an information session, a large question and answer, where people can actually be educated so that they can empower themselves as to the risks and benefits, and some of which we know, some of which we don't. So I'm just saying, when mistakes happen, as we have all spoken to, it's unfortunate. We don't want a Pandora's box. I think as an educated, intelligent community, we can have some information and begin to assess our own risk. So that's my thought. The other thing is, it is the case, and I do want to say this again, in medicine, we have become extremely rigorous about asking for any financial disclosures that people who offer expert opinions publish, speak to us. You must, and there have been some unfortunate scandals, which we find and try to police for the good of everyone. I really want to say whatever information we're given, we owe it to ourselves to scrutinize who paid for it and who benefits. Thank you.
The DEC's study has not included a health impact assessment. It has only been looking at, the physical aspects, not the health of the people. And it has just been announced that Guthrie and Geisinger are going to do a health impact study. And it behooves us, if New York State does not do its own health impact study, that we at least wait for the health impact study that's going to be done and have a moratorium here to protect ourselves. When a lot of people made like the 6,000 comments, a lot of them were to the effect that the DEC had not done anything with the health impacts, and that the Department of Health needs to do that, not the DEC. And the DEC does not have health data to reference. Although I'm obviously against fracking. I'm not against natural gas, and I don't think most people that are against fracking are against natural gas. Natural gas can be obtained from reservoirs that are not very deep, like mile or more deep into the earth, and they don't have to have fracking applied to those wells. And there are other places that they can get gas besides from fracking. And the problem with our area with the fracking is that our geology is different than some of the other states where they have done fracking. The geology in Texas is quite a bit different than the geology in New York State. We have significant numbers of fault lines that are able to transmit the chemicals and the gas through those fault lines and into water wells, into abandoned wells from previous gas extraction by standard methods. So that is why myself and many other people are against fracking, is because of the process and the use of the chemicals that can potentially infiltrate into our aquifer. And again, as a master degree chemist, another issue that I have is that a lot of people with not a lot of training and knowledge in the world of chemistry are going to be handling and using those chemicals, which may be why there's been so many accidents and explosions and so forth in Pennsylvania, because you have people, some people with very little education that don't speak English, from what I understand, doing a lot of the work because they don't really hire the local people. They're bringing in people from Texas to do it. And so also as an educator, I know that most of the people that go on to become doctors, they tend to, score in the 95% or higher in their education. I worry what the percentile of the people that are working on those rigs, what their scores would be, and what their percentage of errors would be. We're going to pick on the doctor's amount of errors. you know, what kind of error rate would they have in their jobs?
Paul Galvo. By the way, I own property in Pennsylvania, and they're trying like heck to get me to sign up for the gas drilling, but I haven't done anything. So I'll make that excellent.
The next millionaire.
I don't want to get into any more of that. That's got me in a lot of trouble already. You're saying that you need more information, but the federal government has given oil companies the ability to not have to comply with the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation Liability Act, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the National Environmental Policy Act, Toxic Release Intervention under the Emergency Planning and Community Rights to Know Act. There's 15 of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. But what is this saying? I said this before. You have arsenic. You have arsenic. Comes out of IBM. It's under environmental impacts, and it has to be handled a certain way. You have arsenic comes out of a gas well, they get a pass. The question is, and I was looking at the doctor because she had the question, I'm trying to be courteous, but the question is, how do you really have the information that you need to make an informed decision when you're not having the gas companies responsible for reporting this? That's a question. The other thing that I think bears repeating, I stated before, the doctor was saying that clean water is a great resource. And I almost wanted to ask the doctor about my particular situation, because I'm in well 1-1. I've been exposed to, this is hard for me, guys. It's a VOC, but trichloroethane and trichloroethylene. Me and 6,000 to 7,000 other residents in Vestal. And as I said before to some people who were here, I've been called up by the federal government to see if I got cancer, to see if I'm dying. It's me, my wife, my kids. It's been done before, that's what I said. We've had this situation before where the town didn't pick it up early enough, where people are suffering because of this. People might have died because of this. The town of Vestal was out of well because of this. I looked into the environmental super funds. That was, ma'am, $1.5 million. The spraying, I believe, is another $1.5 million. The money that the town can be liable for ain't just this. I mean, there's a lot of things with fracking that we got to look at. But just look at this. If you destroy the infrastructure of a well or an aquifer, we're looking at a lot more money than we'll ever get from fracking. This has to be done right. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there are certainly hurdles, very high hurdles, that need to be addressed and dealt with before we go any farther. Last thing, this is an aside, but I thought, and it's actually something I heard of. I'm like the Pennsylvania courier because the wells down in Pennsylvania are doing this now. They're processing their own water on site. And they've been doing this for years, I guess. But they are coming out with brine solution, just out and outright brine solution, and they are processing salt. to sell back to the communities. I have a question to the board. I don't know if you can answer it now or if you can answer it at your next session, but I think it needs to be looked at. Are we in the town of Vestal purchasing any brine from the well drill?
No,
Are we in
absolutely
Vestal?
not.
Good. Are we in Vestal or have we ever bought any salt?
We bought
That
salt,
money.
but not from Pennsylvania, it comes from Cargill.
And it's not brine salt, it's not brine reprocessing. I would encourage us to continue that way, because it's no use to do all this work and pollute our roads potentially with stuff that's been reprocessed from the drilling.
You know, I live in that little house on Hawthorne, and I don't have own any property or that would be drilled. But I just wanted to make a couple little things. We keep saying it's been drilling for all these years, but I believe that it's only been shale extraction in the last 10 years, so it's relatively new. We're talking about unconventional drilling, which is high pressure, and that's 10,000 pounds per square inch. That's not in the conventional drilling. And we're talking about high volume, 4,000 million gallons of water, just the water. I don't know about the other ingredients that are used in this horizontal. The other ones aren't horizontal. And thirdly, this is slick water because they need these chemicals to make the pipes not clog up. This is entirely different, and more, in my opinion, much more dangerous means of drilling. The DEC, I mean, to me to say the government will take care of us. I think the government's job, which is to do the basics. We have laws, but those, hopefully in society, we do even better than the law with each other. But, so what I want to say about the DEC is, first of all, their mission is not to make it, declare it safe drilling. I don't think they're going to say that. Their mission is to, given drilling, how do we best address the issue? That's their charge. Not make it safe. This will make it safe. I don't think that they're going to come up and say, this will make it safe. I think and the other thing, some of the chemicals that they have been declaring are very similar to the ones that were in Love Canal. So that's another thing. And I do agree with
Deborah.
Well, Deborah, yes, I did agree with you. I wanted to say, the gentleman on the end, I should have said, Tom, yes, that we can disagree on the points we make with each other. I mean, I think that's how you have a rigorous discussion, but not to go after someone's, kid, like the politicians do. Those negative ads. They would just stick to the issues. So if we could just disagree with what I'm saying, but not who I am, please. That's who other people are. Because moving on. And lastly, this is to be a child. Not a child, but just take a silly situation that next door to you moves in, a neighbor moves in, an eccentric, wealthy neighbor moves in. And he tells you he's going to drill down a mile, and he's going to use some heavy chemicals. Is this okay? And he goes knocking on your door. Is that okay with you? I don't think you're going to say, yeah, go ahead. Just take it on that simple level.
My name is Deborah Pizzanti. I live on Knight Road. We own 2.2 acres. I am in danger of being compulsory integrated in some future lease. I want to talk about liability. The town's liability. which consequentially will be our liability, as you so well put it, as taxpayers. There's two major categories. There's health. And as the doctor so rightly said, our clean water and our air. We can't live without water and without air. My second major concern is financial. We have spoken, this state has been thrown around for months and months now. We wait for the state, we're going to wait for the state. I have been in constant contact with the Department of Environmental Conservation, with the very lady that's going to be issuing these permits. And I am going to talk to you about the non-supervision by the state, the absence of the state. I have been told that the state will only be present at the time of the drilling of the well. Thirdly, if we bring in the federal government, then we will lose our rights as property owners. And that's all I have to say.
Don Glauber, Rock Road. I'm going to actually not talk about gas drilling per se, but just the procedural issue of, it's a beautiful summer night. I'm sure everybody would rather be outside in some beautiful place, but the fact that this many people, many out in the hallway as well, speaks to that the concern about this issue is increasing. And I heard once that there's some sort of rule that there's more than a certain number of people that the town board meeting needed to be shifted to a location to accommodate all the Vestal residents that wanted to attend. So I submit that it's not just because it was doctor's night to invite a few doctors to come, but because the threat of permitting is coming sooner. Residents I know I've spoken to who thought it was a done deal now realize it may not be, given some of the things that Governor Cuomo has said. And we know passions are high, and on both sides. And a few people have referred to that we work best if we can figure out how to communicate with each other. And some time ago, I think Sue was trying to spearhead the proposal of having an informational session that was lengthy, that was comprehensive, and that was in a space where as many people who wanted to come and speak and learn could be present. And I submit that despite the emotions and the investments and the biases for all kinds of reasons, that we can be civil towards one another and can get through that. And I'm sure most of you, when you were elected to be on the town board, never had the suspicion that you would be in the center of a firestorm of this sort. So if an apology is necessary to you for finding yourself in that position, then I'm sure everyone here would like to do that. But we need to call upon you to dig deep into your patience and your openness, because this, regardless of where one stands, I think this issue is going to be a defining issue on what Vestal is like in the future, positive or negative. And I think we can't afford to defer to some invisible authority and hope that they've done the right thing, because I think there's lots of examples that that just may not be true. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone here, especially the board and the doctors, for coming to speak to us. It behooves us to not make this decision a political decision. They are speaking for our health, they're speaking for our protection, they're speaking for the good of our community, and I thank them very much for taking time out of their busy schedules. We all count on our doctors, we trust our doctors in times of need. They are saying that we do not have enough information to go forward, so once again I would really urge the board to consider passing a moratorium until a public health impact assessment is complete, until we have the data, so that this issue does not continue to rip our community apart. I really like what Dr. Ane said, that it's not us against them. There's no good data. There's no clear facts on which to base a decision. Therefore, the most conservative and prudent thing that you could do as a town board for the benefit of all of us is to pass a moratorium until we do have a public health impact assessment. Thank you.